the man, the legend himself,
Oh,
Adam Roach, coming on the
careful
Zoom,
now.
brother.
Careful. That sounds like a big intro right there, my friend.
That's big. That's big. That's, hey, it's merited. It's deserved. I mean, who else has started iloverecruiting.com?
That's what we do.
I mean, that's how it is. Now, I'm going to give these guys a little background, both for the live audience as well as for YouTube. Adam and I date back to Keller Williams, Mount Pleasant, when he was putting some incredible recruiting numbers on the board, getting some incredible talent into the Mount Pleasant Market Center, and building just a really cool thing there. And I roll in kind of semi-retired, and I'm like, who is this Adam dude? He is so connected, so intuitive in the flow, leadership, John Maxwell style, servant leadership. And also as a Maxwell trained, you've been in the Maxwell School of Leadership for a long time, right?
Long time, yeah, since 2000, actually, 11 years now.
Wow, man, that's a long time in internet years, especially, dude. That's incredible. That's incredible. So part of today, we've got 30 minutes ish. I love getting success clues from successful people. As Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. And you have met and worked with and recruited a lot of successful agents and teams. And so, and built pretty cool things along the way, different revenue streams. And so just it's kind of, learning from you about leadership as well as the things you've observed that successful agents do, successful leaders do, is kind of the foundation for this today. Because we have everything from new agents. Amy Lewis on the call is a relatively new agent, although not a new professional, meeting organizer. Patrick is a property manager guy who also worked in sports with pro hockey. And there are a lot of people out there that are entering the real estate realm in different places. And so I like to try to give them as much practical stuff as we can. And so tell me, because you were a tennis player, college level, ended up in Beverly Hills, California, which is a pretty sweet assignment, if I do say so myself, for real estate. Talk us through that journey of how did you get, you were born, and then today, catch us up.
Sure. That's a good intro. Patrick, Annie, good to see you guys on here. Adam Roach, I'm a native Hoosier. So we just got a new basketball coach. So I'm excited about that. Let's maybe see if we can get the Hoosiers back on a winning track one of these days. Played collegiate tennis and found out real quick when I attempted to play some professional tennis that I was an American, not a European, and was getting my butt kicked. And I'm out of this profession because I hate losing. And I was in SoCal, and myself and two other guys, we stumbled across what was called the concession rights from the city of Beverly Hills to run their public tennis courts. So we had 38 tennis courts that we had to run a business on. We thought, holy heck, what are we going to do here? And because we won the bid. And so long story short, put together a business plan, and I was running the entire thing. And that's actually, Matt, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. That was my first stint at recruiting, because I had to go out and recruit other tennis pros from other clubs, basically. And I was in my 20s, and just, I actually had hair back then, and it was just kind of fun. And we actually were awarded, I was awarded the Southern California Tennis Pro of the Year. I don't remember what year it was, because we built the company from basically nothing to something that was deemed one of the best in all of Beverly Hills. And wow. I was flipping homes at the time. I had met a banker on the beach. This is 2000 now. Actually, no, 2002. And they said, are you in real estate? And I said, no, I'm in the tennis world. And they said, well, why aren't you in real estate? I said, I don't know. I've only known tennis my entire life. And they said, well, listen, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is getting into real estate because any bank will give you money. You just have to go out there and spend it and go buy houses. I said, well, listen, I don't know what that means. I'm a tennis pro. I make cash. I don't know if the bank would even give me money. He's like, don't worry about it. It's called 100% loan, stated loan program, and we'll give you all the money. Great. So we did that.
Those were the days, man.
Those were the days. So from 2002 to 2007, we flipped 18 properties. and it was a blast. I think our average property flip was in the sevens or 800s, and we were playing with bank
Sweet.
money, house money is the way I looked at it. And long story short, 2007 was the last flip that I did at that time because I paid 745 for my last flip. Was holding about $3 million in properties. I was 30 in my early 30s at the time, not really understanding what I was doing as it related to the loans. I mean, I got it conceptually, but I realized how much you could dig yourself a hole. And that last house that we had back on the market for almost 815 in 3 weeks, we had 6 offers, but none of them were contingent free. We wound up selling that house for a loss of $80,000. So we wrote the bank a check. That was before foreclosures and short sales were cool or in vogue. And that's when I really understood the concept of what realtors could be doing. And they could really be making a lot of money if they understood the principles of simple sales, right? And so I got into general sales with Keller Williams in Beverly Hills, and then soon found out that I enjoyed that. However, I actually enjoyed the leadership component more than I did the traditional sales model, and then got into being a team leader of Keller Williams, which is basically the recruiter or the cruise ship director, if you will. Someone called me one time. And
Cruise ship director, I like that.
cruise ship director, and that was the net of the whole thing, Matt. And then the rest of the story is I grew these offices, wound up owning 3 of the franchises, and built a software company of recruiting in the middle there. Was a coach, and had a team of from Myrtle Beach all the way almost down to Hilton Head of leadership of what do we have? Gosh, 3, 6, 9, 12, almost 17 people. And we were about $2 billion in sales. And we amassed agent count of almost, in those 3 offices, of maybe almost 650 agents. And it was awesome.
Wow.
And then I sold it.
Yeah.
Sold it.
That's awesome.
Sold it to play in this space right here, right? Sold it to play in this space of the I Live Recruiting Company, because we had grown at that time. We had a software called Recruiting Bridge, which we still have, and that had helped KW grow by nearly 70,000 agents at the time. And so we white labeled it, took it outside of Keller Williams, called Exceed, and then we built the podcast. We built the coaching company, one-on-one group coaching, evergreen coaching. And here we are to this day. So by the end of June, we'll have 10 coaches that'll have a minimum of 10 clients each. And our goal, we have a vision statement, Matt, and that vision statement is to empower recruiters with an asterisk next to it to change 100 million lives. And we believe that everyone is a recruiter. And so we want to give them the platform and the blueprint for the how-to. So that's who I am.
I love it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And what a great vision. I love that vision statement, and changing lives is what it's about, right?
Sure. Yeah, it really is. From a leadership standpoint, you ask, what do successful leaders do, Matt? And that's a great question. I don't have all the answers. I definitely not the smartest person in the room, but I'll tell you from experience, what I have found is I realize that hearing, a mentor taught me this a long time ago, hearing is involuntary. You can't control that, right? You can hear. Listening, however, is voluntary. You can choose to listen or not, right? And maybe with our significant others or our siblings or our parents even, we may choose to not listen from time to time. However, in the space of recruiting, the space of coaching, in the space of leading and mentoring, listening is the most important thing I believe that any successful leader, Matt, can do.
That is a great success clue. The power of not just hearing, but actually listening, getting that dialed in. And that's one of the things I'd love for, my mentees and all the people who are catching this video to really, really call that out. And one of the things I've heard you say is talking about questions, asking great questions, because that puts you in the driver's seat. Right. Sure. I mean, and then that gives you the opportunity to honor the other person, to respect the other person's experience, and then to actively listen. Talk to me just about the power of questions.
Yeah. So in the recruiting space, by the way, this is a Topo Chico, not a Heineken, just for everybody's curiosity there. So Matt, I'll tell you some experiences in the recruiting space. So leaving Beverly Hills and then actually coming back to Indiana to run an office. I was gone for 12 years, came back. And they said, hey, listen, your job is to recruit, and maybe do some consulting and maybe do some training, but go out and recruit. I thought, okay, fine. Here's what I know to do. I know to go out and sell benefits. I know to go out and share what I've done. I know how to go out and do all these things that did not include learning about the other individual, right? So I had a mentor teach me the equation of recruiting is relationships plus value and validity over time equals self-discovery. And what I realized in the beginning is I wasn't building relationships with people. I was literally vomiting all over them of who I was, right? And of all my wins and my failures in the past, right? And I literally caught myself that I was just doing all of the talking and not learning anything about anybody else. And then saying, oh, so are you ready to join? And they were like, join what? All I know is I've heard you talk for the last 45 minutes about this, that, and the other. And I thought, wow, what a jerk, right? And so, Matt, with the power of questions, I had a coach me up on go into a meeting and see how many questions you can ask. Now, I have since created a 5-page document of questions. I have a needs analysis report that I've created that are 26 relationship-based questions that I'm happy to give to anybody that's listening. And the beauty of it now, Matt, is I understand in relationships, the questions are the most important factors of building that, right? So if you're a recruiter out there, if you're a leader, if you're a mentor, come from a place of curiosity and a place of contribution and sit down with someone. And this is how I set up now had set up all recruiting appointments. Hey, Matt, I've heard a lot of great things about you. I'd love to sit down and get to know you a little bit better and you and your business. Well, what's in it for me? Well, me helping you, first of all, but we're not going to talk about that. And so when you sit down and you come from a place of real contribution and curiosity, do not hide behind the proverbial bush to jump out and say, aha, I got you with that question. Nope. You stay in a place that's authentic and just get into it. And I love it.
I love it too. And I think, there's even an application for realtors in the field working in their community with buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
How would you shift the perspective a little bit toward that audience, like Annie, for instance, who's writing a contract for a buyer? How would you apply the same principles?
Well, I think, Matt, right now in our marketplace, your questions have to create a sense of urgency, right? Specifically for buyers. Buyers have to know and understand without you just telling them. They've got to sense it, right? So your questions have to be, they can be twofold, logic-based or emotional-based. And we know that emotion makes people move and logic makes people think. And if you don't believe that statement, here's what I want you to pay attention to. Whether you're in property management, whether you're in recruiting, whether you're an agent, one day, one time, you will hear someone say, that just makes all the sense in the world. It just doesn't feel right. And when they say it doesn't feel right, that means you did not speak to the emotional side of their brain, which is actually the decision maker. A lot of people don't realize that. The emotional part of your brain can't hear words. It can only hear, or it can only feel. The logic part of your brain hears words, and that's why they say, boy, that makes all the sense in the world. But if I didn't move them, then they're not going to take action. So for example, in Annie's case, if I'm working with a buyer, I'm asking the simple questions. Hey, what specifically, keyword there, always use the word specifically, what specifically would stop you from writing on this property today? Right? Nothing. Okay, great. Let's write, right? Or this, that, and the other. But I'm probably doing a really good buyer needs analysis in the beginning, a buyer consultation, and getting to the emotional side so that I can create that urgency as fast as possible for today's market.
It's interesting touching on the emotion, because I've always heard that we sort of have some logic, but the emotion is what backs everything up. Emotion is what really makes the decision happen. And if you think about this, the root of fear, especially the lizard brain, where it's like, oh man, dealing with the fears, whether they're voiced or not, when you're talking to another agent or you're talking to a buyer or a seller, and also the rewards, there's a risk reward as people are looking at making decisions, whether it's changing brokerages or whatever, helping them to navigate that emotionally, and being willing to touch on that. And it seems like the question the process that you're talking about is so good to be able to get to that and build a rapport and relationship too, right?
Right, sure. So I'll share this with Annie and Patrick here, and this is going to be on YouTube, so they'll be able to see this. I call this the power question pyramid. So I'll draw this for everybody, but you can draw a pyramid, and at the bottom of that is the word why, right? So why is the least powerful way to start a question? Because yes, we just talked about emotion, but that type of word evokes a negative emotion majority of time, right? If you remember, maybe as a kid, and I'll just speak from my own experiences. Hey, Adam, why didn't you make your bed today? Ooh.
Oh, dude.
Adam, why didn't you clean your room before you went out and played tennis? Ooh, I don't know. So that, and maybe that's just my programming, my history. However, whys are the least powerful question to ask. Next, how, right? How questions are good, but how questions aren't real powerful. So how did you do that, right? How did that come about? Okay, those are okay. The next question, which is my favorite, is what, right? What caused you to feel that? What caused you to think that way? What specifically were the actions you took to arrive at this position? And then the most powerful one, which most people do not use, is who, right? Who specifically can help you do that? Who is going to help you accomplish that? Who, right? That's a very leveraged based word. So Matt, in the question asking space, this is what I coach to all the time as I listen to people in their language, specifically in recruiting, is to how are they approaching candidates, or even in the agent space, how are they approaching their clients with what level of questions?
Right. That makes so much sense, Adam, because I mean, the why question almost provokes defensiveness in most people.
Yes.
Why'd you do that? I mean, it's like, the threat. I'm not sure I'm okay with that, And so being up that pyramid helps keep things safer and also more insightful. And I mean, the one on top, just the power of leverage, dude. That's one of the things, hearing you talk about GoBundance and all the different things that you're involved with, leading organizations, realizing you can't do it all by yourself. That who question is one of the key elements in multiplying the effectiveness, right? And leverage your effort and your vision, right?
Yeah, for sure. And again, the fun part about this is even with agents, right? As agents, or even in property management space, as we're talking to our clients, why would you not want to write on this? Yeah, it's defense, right? What specifically would stop you from writing on this? Who should we talk to so you can write on this, right? Yeah, right. It's just different approaches.
That who question too is who else needs to be a part of this decision process? If you've got like buyers or sellers, it's like, are there other people that are going to be weighing in on this? Or are you the sole decision maker or sole signature on this deal? Totally. Especially when you're negotiating, you don't want the center of power to be outside the circle. It's like, hey, we better get all the players at the table here. Who else needs to be around the table, right?
Yep, for sure. So yeah, this is the power of the pyramid power. And the last thing I'll share, real quick here, Matt, I call this the four corners of a conversation. So we've got, and by the way, this is not Adam Roach material. This had been taught to me throughout the years. So if someone sees this and you created it and I stole it from you, thank you, right? Because I've used this my entire life. Okay. So
adopted it. You've adopted it as your own now.
I have, yeah. So the top left corner, so this is a conversation. I want you to see the conversation here. The top left corner, we're going to call this the positive present. Okay, this is the positive present space. Now, positive present in a conversation looks like this. Wow, Matt, I'm super excited to talk with you. Tell me more about this amazing business career that you've had this past year. What specifically did you do that worked really, really well? Right? And we get into the conversation. Wow, tell me more. And then we take them in here. We'll put positive present. Oh. Okay, then we have negative present. Okay. Okay. Now the flow has to go like that because we got to start them with something that feels good. Then we take them into a negative present. So Matt, what specifically didn't work well for you this year? Matt, what would you do, right? Let's go back to our pyramid. Let's stay and understand our question levels. What would you do if you could go back and change some of the things that you failed in this past year? Right? So go ahead and take them into a negative present. Matt, what specifically stopped you from hitting your goal that you were so passionately committed to? And the last two sides, this is leaving someone. So they're interchangeable. So we've got a positive future. And you guessed it, we've got a negative future. So these can be interchangeable for however you want to leave someone. And what I mean by that is, as we're into, let's just call it a recruiting appointment, because that's my space, is Matt, so tell me, as you continue to grow your business, what are you most excited about? Right? Paint me that picture of the future 2 to 3 years from now. Who will be on your team? Who specifically? What's the organizational chart look like? Walk me through that, Matt. Then as you get ready to leave, I can take you into a negative future. Matt, I've really enjoyed this time together. Matt, just out of curiosity, as you go back to your current brokerage, what do you think you'll feel as you walk in there and you realize you don't have everything that we just talked about? Right? Negative future. And again, there's so many different languages that you can use. There's so many different questions, so many different ways to approach that I call it the 4 corners of conversation. Anyway, it's just fun.
That is cool. Well, and it's start kicking off with the positive helps build the tide of trust and rapport and celebrating each other, right? I mean, it's one of the ways of honoring that relationship entering in, and really recognizing, as we all should, the things that we've done well, and then looking at, well, what are the challenges, and then how do we bring solutions to the table to help address some of those challenges, or some connections that can help do it. I know, man, this time has gone so fast, and these nuggets, the wisdom nuggets from Adam and the illustrations are just so valuable, I think, for our agents and recruiters and folks that are in leadership just across the board. Man, what's the best way for people to get hold of you, Adam? Because this is good stuff. You offered some conversation starters that folks on YouTube might be interested in as well. What's the best way to reach out to you?
So you can come to iloverecruiting.com. You can find us there. You can find us on Instagram. You can go listen to our podcast, the I Love Recruiting podcast. That's on every podcast download possible. We have a Facebook group, Matt, called The Art of Recruiting. So it's /TAO recruiting. And then come in there. We have about 1,000 recruiters in there from all over the globe. And we just get in there and we mastermind all different shapes, colors, sizes, all different brands. And it's really, really, really a neat platform of distribution where people can come in and just share ideas and ask questions and do all those types of things. We're getting ready to launch, Matt, a group coaching session in April, the second week of April. So if any of your listeners are interested, they can DM me on Instagram, or they can go to the iloverecruiting.com page and click on the group coaching, and we'll reach right back out to you and get you involved.
That's a great opportunity, Adam. Thank you for sharing that. And really, this has been really insightful for me as I look at growing my team, across the Carolinas and beyond, and as well as just our conversations, that we manage relationships all the time, being more aware of the kind of questions we ask. If you're asking the questions, you're in the driver's seat, and being able to listen well is just so key. And thank you for sharing that, because most people, honestly, a lot of leaders are not great listeners, but the really awesome, incredible ones are incredible listeners. And the person who's with them a lot of the time feel like they are the most important person on the planet when they're done with that meeting, right?
Very true, man. So going back to the story that I shared real quick, I'll leave everybody with this, see if anybody can beat it. So my coach, when he said, go in there and ask how many questions, go track how many questions you can ask in an hour. So I kid you not, I'm in my appointment and I'm doing tally marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, right? And I got to 89 questions. 89 questions in 1 hour was It was a great meeting. He walked out and said, wow, that was a great meeting. I don't know anything about you. Can I come back tomorrow and learn more? I was like, of course you can. Come on back. I'll tell everybody real quick here, Matt. Here's the cheat of that. Here's how you cheat with that. And cheat being a silly word there. I call this the three amigos. So when you're in a conversation with someone, remember the three amigos. Ask someone a question. Remember, when it's a powerful question, they will go silent. You are not to say anything there in the middle. Allow the silence to do the heavy lifting. Let them answer and then ask these three questions. What else? Pause.
What else?
Let them answer. What else? Pause. Let them answer. And the last question you ask is there anything else? Empty that bucket completely of wherever you get, so they understand that, wow, this individual really wants to learn. So if you ask one question and then you go ask the three amigos, that's 4 questions in one question. You'll break my my 89 record in no time.
So was the 89 with the three amigos, or did the three amigos come along after the 89?
It was, you know what, at the time, Matt, it was a little bit of a mixture. The three amigos were not titled yet. Let's just put it that way.
They hadn't found their way to a title. They hadn't found a group. Well, yeah. Adam Roach, man, always a pleasure. Always a treat to connect with you. See you around the neighborhood. See you around town, out and about, eating healthy food, staying fit, keeping the business flowing all over the globe. Just want to say thanks so much for making the time to be with us today on Success Clues. And Annie, Patrick, thanks for joining us as well. You guys go out and make it a great one. Love on some folks. Love your neighbor. Share some smiles. Share some love. Share some light.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Matt. Bye-bye.